To borrow from Shakespeare, just a bit of it. To be or not to be. To be a leader or to be a politician. To be a leader who cares about the people and loves the country. To be a leader who listens to the ground and to the people. Or to be a politician who lives for the day and by the day. To be a politician whose every decision and move is determined by what people call interests, but what clearly is the politician's stomach. To be a leader who cares about future generations and about the children of this country and of their children tomorrow. Or to be a politician who will do anything because they are given a coin. To be a politician who is swayed and follows the wind. For where the wind goes, there goes the politician. Today, this country finds itself at crossroads. We find ourselves at a critical juncture and moment when we pray that in the midst of all this confusion and all these suckers, there will emerge at least a few leaders to give hope to the people of this country, and especially to the young people, that we still have a country. That although the majority, although the mob squarely fall in the area of politicians, cooking the broth of confusion, that although an overwhelming number of our senators, members of the National Assembly, are politicians who have no idea of what the country requires, who do not listen to the ground. The country prays, and I pray with the country, that there will be a handful of politicians to give hope to this country, that not all is lost. So while for Gachagua, the die is cast, and that he may actually vacate office, courtesy of the move by politicians, going by the speed with which everything is being handled, going by the juvenile excitement in the National Assembly, the die may be cast. But we pray as Kenyans that a few men and women from the crowd of politicians, from the lynching mob, will stand up for country, and that they may go in the annals of history, that the Hansard of Senate may record them as men and women who gave hope to the country when the country needed hope most. And therefore, I may be naive, and I will be naive, to expect that perhaps Senate may think otherwise. But I want to remain hopeful that the speeches from that gallery, not gallery, from the chambers of Senate, will give hope to us, especially the young people of this country. Right from who is going to vote, I find it rather interesting that 67 senators instead of 47 will vote if what I hear is anything to go by. We become a country of fake news and rumors and innuendo, distinguishing between what is fact and what's not true, even on such a serious matters, is not easy. But assuming what I hear is true, 67, I ask myself, could the people of Kenya have given themselves the power to remove a governor by allowing only heads of delegation, heads of county delegation, the 47 senators, the power to remove a governor. But let this serious, very serious undertaking be given to the entire 67 senators. I very much doubt so. Removing a president or a deputy president is a much more serious thing than removing a governor. It cannot be interpreted in the narrow sense that this is not a county bill. That is a very narrow interpretation of a very grave matter. The people of Kenya cannot have given the power to remove a president to men and women who are selected by their political parties to become nominated senators. It cannot be the case. I don't know where senior lawyers in this country are. Everybody is failing this country. Everybody is chasing money, including very senior lawyers. I would have expected the LSK, together with there's a body, I don't know what it's called, a body of senior counsel, to have met and given direction to Senate, including the Speaker, that you cannot go beyond the 47 elected senators, the people who are elected in the full knowledge, because Kenyans knew the most critical role of Senate would be if an impeachment motion is brought before Senate. And those are the men and women Kenyans elected for that critical moment. Kenyans know how members of parliament, senators, and members of the National Assembly are nominated. The nomination process that produces nominated members of parliament is anything but right. It's always shoddy. It's always people choosing their girlfriends and boyfriends, relatives, cronies, bidders. It cannot be that those 20 senators, however wonderful they are, could form part of the team that can decide whether a president is impeached or not, is tried and found and fit to hold office or not. It's not possible. But now that that has happened, it's all behind us. My message to the people of Kenya and to their senators, that what is before Senate is a very grave matter. Grave because it could bring the country down. Grave because it could be misused. Matters before Senate over this impeachment are a grave because it's a question of the bar we are setting. If you look at the frivolous charges, at the charges against Rigathi Gachagua, even if you hate him, even if you are part of the lynch mob, you will agree that there's no ground anywhere enough to impeach a president or a deputy president. So the question is, what bar are we establishing? Today, this may look like an empty question, but tomorrow, in the fullness of time, we will remember what we did in the year 2024, in October. That we set the bar so low that it became very simple to remove our president, and we will regret at that time. Anywhere in the world, an impeachment is a tool of last resort. An impeachment is a tool that is rarely used. In fact, even in parliamentary democracies where governments fall, many times a vote of no confidence is not anywhere near removing the prime minister. It is always to put them on their toes, to warn them, to tell them the country is watching you and we can remove you, but never to remove them, even in a parliamentary system. Sembuse presidential system. A presidential system is a delicate system in the sense that everything in the country is vested in the president. It is a delicate system because you touch the presidency and the country can crumble and collapse. You cannot say that about the parliamentary system. A parliamentary system is structurally crafted and designed to withstand things like impeachment, if you wish, normally votes of no confidence. It is inbuilt. As you become a prime minister, you are always counting your days. Anytime you can go. And the system and the country is always ready for that, and not for a presidential system. Now, to the sovereign of the people, I want to share this with the country and share it with the Senate, that the people donate power, delegated authority to various persons and institutions. The highest donation, the highest delegated power and authority is vested in the presidency. That is where the sovereign is. That the people of this country say we give everything to the presidency, president and deputy president. We submit ourselves. Just down memory lane for senators. The people at Bomas wanted a parliamentary system with the prime minister. The president in that system was more or less ceremonial. What was the main argument against it? I know there was politics at Naivasha, but I want to draw the attention of serious senators. Underline the word serious senators, not jokers. What was the main argument against the parliamentary system when the Bomas draft, having perhaps been bastardized somewhere in Kilifi and elsewhere? Why was it rejected? What was the main argument? It could have been an excuse, but the argument was that the people of this country cannot elect a president. I want to repeat this clearly, that the people of this country will not elect a president and then surrender the executive power and authority of this country to parliament. That how can we elect a president and then the parliament gives us a powerful prime minister who is holding executive authority in this country and not the president we elected? And that's where we are today. And that's why I caution this country. Lower the bar of removing a president. Lower the bar of removing a deputy president, and we could end up in a circus. Dangerous circus. We could create anarchy. You remove a deputy president today, excitedly so, in a juvenile manner, in a hurry, in a rush, because you are looking at Gachagua. Great things are not done with individuals in mind. Great things are done because they are good for society, good for country, good for man. Not to remove an individual. So you remove Gachagua today, fine, let him go. He's a man of God. He will continue praying around Mount Kenya. Then you put there somebody else. And that's another challenge the president will have. It is not as easy as he thinks. The names being fronted as automatic will be a disaster to the president. So you put that person there, he becomes deputy president. But because you have lowered the bar of removing a president, supposing the president is then removed, because it's now easy to remove a president, the man who was nominated by the president, not the people of Kenya, to become deputy president, approved by parliament, and not the people of Kenya, now becomes president. So it's parliament that has given Kenya the president. And that new president, nowhere near election, nominated by the president to fill Gachagua's position or somebody's position in the future. It doesn't have to be now. That person was approved by parliament, not the people of Kenya. So he becomes deputy. Something happens to the president and he becomes president. A president not nominated, not elected by the people, but by the president and parliament. And now he becomes president. Who in turn now nominates somebody else to be his deputy. And that new deputy is again approved by parliament. Where are we now? We have a situation in the country where the highest authority, the most powerful individual in the country, the chief executive of the country, the president of the country, is in State House, not courtesy of the people's delegation, the people's vote. No, because he has been put there by the National Assembly and Senate, by Parliament. I leave you with that. Because you've lowered the bar, it will not be long in this country before the president and his deputy are not a product of an election by the people. Instead, the president and the deputy will be in power because of parliament. Let me also remind you, dear Kenyans, Senate, that an impeachment was put there not to be used anyhow. Because look at the world. Tell me where impeachment has succeeded. Removing judges and other state officers. Removing presidents. Tell me where. How many? The people who put it there knew it's not a tool you play around with. If they had known the Kenyan parliament will take it at face value, like children, because it is provided, that you are impeaching an individual, not because there are grounds. You are impeaching an individual because the impeachment is provided for. Look, you are impeaching an individual because an impeachment is provided for under the Constitution, and not because there are grounds for impeachment. They would not have put it there if they knew. In fact, they would have addressed all these things I'm raising. But they knew that Kenyan Parliament and Special Senate cannot be that reckless. To use a provision, just a provision, because the provision is there, then you remove some. No, they thought people will think, they will know the consequences. As indeed, it happens across the world. People know this is provided for. But you do not impeach an individual merely because it is provided for. There must be serious grounds. Serious grounds for impeachment. Otherwise, it would not have been put there. If people knew that on any flimsy ground, Parliament will move to impeach and remove somebody, they would not have put it there. On behalf of the people of Kenya, I address myself to the leadership of this country, including Senate. Listen to the people. Listen. Do not ignore the voice of the people. You have the vote. You have the power. You have the die. But remember, the people who put you there in those positions are not with you. Increasingly in this country, we are going back to the days when people were going in one direction and the leadership were going in the opposite direction. Remember, this is not happening in the year 1990. This is happening in the 21st century. This is 2024. The whistle has been blowing in the famous song about the Black conscious movement in America. Can't you hear the whistle blowing? It's time to get your ticket. This is for the leadership. And again, in the same spirit, in the same period, black consciousness in America, do not take the people for granted. And Jim Brown tells you, we've been spoken of as if it takes a pair of us to make one eye. My advice to the leadership of this country, the special Senate, listen to the people. Do not take the people for granted. Do not imagine it takes 1,000 of us to make one eye. Now, Jim Brown was right. The people are not as stupid as you think, because they allow you to lead them has never meant any time throughout history that they are stupid. Even when people have allowed atrocious things to happen to them for long stretches of years, they have always woken up one day and said no. Listen to the people. The voice of people is the voice of God.